The Nation with Zororo Makamba.
The fuel crisis. This is one of the most visible stories about the problems we face as a country. Long queues everywhere. Well, we all know the pain. You wait in a long queue for hours on end. Sometimes you queue right through the night, just hoping you get lucky. Some days you get to the fuel queue and it runs out, just as you're about to near the pump. We have all had to deal with those cocky fuel attendants. These guys are our bosses now. They own us. We all have these groups on WhatsApp and Facebook where we share breaking news about a tanker offloading fuel at that station or diesel over at that other place. This isn't normal. We shouldn't be chasing fuel tankers all over town. We shouldn't even notice these guys. It's a sign of a big issue. Now, what is that issue and how best can we solve it? Well, let's talk about it on this week's State of the Nation. First of all, fuel shortages is just a symptom of a bigger challenge, the lack of USD. Now, there'll be no easy solutions, we know this, but what we want to talk about is what we can sort out today. We can be more open and transparent about how this whole fuel industry and the Forex market is working. Here are the issues. Number one, we know we're not generating enough foreign currency, but are we really doing a good job of using the Forex that we are actually making? Number two, we have too many taxes on our fuel. And three, there's really something wrong with our pricing system. We need to fix that. Now, we know the government believes that our fuel consumption is a bit high. One example, Zambia. Their economy is almost the same size as ours. 327 million liters. That's how much fuel they spent in 2018. 609 million liters. That much petrol we used in 2018. Almost double what they use in Zambia. And yeah, we know. Fuel costs less here. In the capital and today's interbank rate, petrol is 95 US cents. Diesel is 98 cents. In Zambia, they pay about 120. South Africa, $1. Malawi, $1.15. Mozambique, $1.12. So yes, there is an issue with our pricing system. But here's the truth. We all know that salaries haven't moved much. So we need a pricing system that works not just for the national accounts, but also for our people. So it's difficult to compare ourselves with other countries without talking about what inflation is doing to our salaries. Now, what does this all tell us? Again, it's a sign that the fuel situation is just a sign of a bigger issue in the economy. Here's some more numbers. In May last year, we used 47 million liters of petrol. In May this year, we used 41 million liters. We are using less fuel. The fuel price hikes have made sure of that. Still, the fuel queues are not going away. Why? Well, it's the whole fuel system. It's not working. It needs fixing. Let's take a step back for a little bit. For a long time, fuel companies were getting Forex from the RBZ at the 1-to-1 rate. This was one big subsidy. The government was basically paying bills for fuel companies. It was damaging to our economy. It's one of the reasons why we ended up with such a big deficit. Deficits are never good for any economy. But things changed in January. That's when the fuel prices went up by 150%. It had to happen. Someone had to close the arbitrage opportunity some were using to make money. You had guys buying fuel here in Zimbabwe and selling it outside the country for more money. So that system had to go. And it did go. Well, that was January. Then came May. The RBZ, so the fuel companies, would no longer get their Forex at 1-to-1. They had to get their money at the interbank market. Now, here's how it works. Zimbabwean fuel companies can't buy fuel directly from international oil suppliers. In other countries, a fuel company can just import their own petrol and pay later. But in Zim, this doesn't happen. Why? Well, you know the story. We've had a bad credit record. We've said this before on the show. We didn't pay our debts, and now we're facing the consequences. So since they can't pay up front, what do our fuel companies have to do? Well, they go to the RBZ. They get what is called a letter of credit. Now, it's kind of like a promise by the RBZ to the foreign fuel supplier. It says that we will make a payment on behalf of the Zim company at an agreed price. But not all companies are getting this money. And that's just one of the reasons why we need to talk about this. Number one, if a fuel company can't buy its own Forex to buy its own fuel, to sell its own fuel stations, something is really wrong. When the interbank market began, we were told that it would be a free market. Exporters would put their money into the system and importers would buy that Forex to pay for stuff outside the country. We were promised that we would be told which fuel company got how much Forex for fuel from the market. We're still waiting. We make over $300 million in Forex from our exporters every month. We should be able to cover our most basic needs. But we aren't doing that. Even the RBZ governor said this. He said that we're not using our forex well enough. We're sleeping on the job. Number 2, are we not paying too much taxes on our fuel? Let's break it down. A liter of petrol lands the coast at 62 US cents. Then you add a few more fees and taxes. Then add the exchange rate. Then there's another levy, the carbon tax, the strategic reserve tax. You even have what's called the debt redemption levy. Now, did you know about this one? It's the levy that you and I are paying for all the old debts that Nogzin piled up many years ago. We're still paying for these debts now. All this stuff goes into every liter of fuel that you and I buy. In his budget statement, the finance minister raised the duty on fuel by up to 45%. This means that prices have to go up. Now, we all know the government needs money, but something has to happen to those taxes if we want to keep petrol affordable for the majority. It's good that we're trying to revive Zupco. It's cheap because government is using taxes that we are paying to make Zupco work. In fact, Mtuli has just put aside an extra 104 million for Zupco, which is good. It helps them people. But we need a bigger, more efficient mass transport system. If it works, we can use less fuel and it'll be more affordable for many of us. Embracing a culture of carpooling would help manage costs and reduce congestion on the roads. Wouldn't it be great if our government officials also took public transport or cycled to work? Another area that means more transparency is fuel blending. Zimbabwe introduced mandatory fuel blending in 2013. Now, the idea was this. If we mix imported petrol with the ethanol that we produce here, we can save money. Blending is nothing new. Nations such as Brazil also blend their fuel. What they do better than us is to be as open about it as they can, because it's in the public good. It helps build confidence. Another issue that needs more openness, the movement of fuel itself. It's good to see some steps now being taken to monitor how fuel is shipped across the country. Right now, the guys at HIT are working on some tech to monitor fuel. And the regulator could soon be using a system to track fuel tankers. Now, this system will also keep eyes on 650 retail sites and 15 storage depots. This is great, this is good. If we are spending scarce forex on fuel, we need to be sure that it's making its way into all of our cars. The fuel crisis has gone on for far too long. It's making it harder and harder for people to do business. We knew it would take long to fix the forex crisis, nobody doubts this. But while we're sorting out this big forex supply issue, it's time to let go of some of the controls in the industry. It's time to move faster towards making it a fully free forex market. Let there be fair play in how forex is bought and sold. And let people be sure that the system is working. Because what goes down in the fuel sector affects all of us. We are open for business, right? So it's time we open up the fuel market a lot more.